Ever felt like you need a jetpack to navigate Orlando's attractions? Join us as we dissect why Orlando is crowned the least walkable city in these United States.
Orlando is now ranked as the least walkable U.S. city in a study by Preply, taking over 11 hours to walk between its major attractions. Chicago, of all cities, emerged as the most walkable. So David really downgraded by moving here from Chicago. Orlando's poor walkability is consistent with past reports, and pedestrian safety is still a massive concern here. David, hit us.
I like my community. It's walkable. It's based on a grid system, and I kind of did some research, and I said, wait a second, why does the community I live in, Baldwin Park, feel so familiar to Chicago? It's because the Prisker family bought and developed Baldwin Park years ago, and it's reminiscent of Chicago. The Priskers are of course, from Chicago, and so it's nice knowing that they they develop a community that is walkable, that is tree lined, that is friendly, and for me, reminiscent of some of the neighborhoods I lived in Chicago. Orlando has a long way to go. Try crossing the street, almost any street in Orlando, and get across to the other side safely. Orlando is difficult. It's very difficult to maintain your safety.
Yeah, and there's 1,001 crosswalks to go once. And I see this sentiment all the time of like, oh, bah humbug, public transportation, walkable, just drive, idiot. Do you know why you want to have a city that's walkable, a city with public transportation options? Because those guys aren't driving, but you are. Mm-hmm. If those people aren't driving, they're not going to cut you off for no good reason. They are not going to tailgate your stupid ass. They are not going to get into accidents on the road. They will not contribute to traffic. So building a city to move people along without forcing them to get into cars keeps those who are driving in cars sane. It keeps them safe. It's like urban development 101, but we don't understand that here. And I think we've been going over this recently as well, where you have the mayor of Orange County who can't stop saying, we're going to build for public transportation. And in order to do that, we got to build for more cars. Yeah, our government, as much talk as they want to talk, ironically, they walk none of the walk. This is why you can't walk on the city. And they don't build for this. And they haven't been building for this. But they've been just telling the media and telling everybody else that they will do it. And nobody's calling them out on it as much as they should.
I know there's organizations like YIMBY who is making the effort, YIMBY Orlando, making the effort to encourage our civic leaders to have more pedestrian walkways, bike lanes, things that will encourage people, citizens, to walk, to bike, to scooter about town. At the same time, there's the safety issue, and not a week passes. This is not hyperbole. Not a week passes that you hear about a pedestrian getting hurt, a biker getting hurt or unalived because they're biking in the bike lane,
The,
or sharing the road with a car, or walking across the street.
or the sheer number of close calls I have personally seen right by the UCF campus, because
Oh
across
yeah,
so
notorious.
so you have this big ring that is the UCF campus with lots of smaller roads and sidewalks and whatnot feeding in. The UCF campus is walkable, but surrounding the UCF, on one side you have the rural area,
Mhm.
on the other side you have Alafaya, which is a major street, kind of like a small highway,
Mhm.
which brings you to Highway 50 and to 408, 407, sorry, whatever the road is called. That
Right, right,
one,
right. For
408, yeah,
408,
408
yeah.
brings you to 408 as well. So this road, you know, is, and on the other side of the road is where all of the off-campus housing is set. You have this huge row, it stretches for miles, of apartment complexes and grocery stores. But to get there from there to campus, because remember, a lot of students, they don't have cars, or if they do have cars, they don't really. It's really hard to get parking, so they don't even want to, bring their cars there. You can't park on campus, let alone back of your complex sometimes,
Mhm.
and so they have to cross the street. And I've seen so many close calls because you have to force people over these super long crosswalks over like when you add up both sides, they're walking over 10 lanes of freaking road. And this is
Unbelievable.
and this is the this is the best way to get to campus, by the way. And so I've seen so many close calls because somebody isn't hitting their brakes hard enough and they get close, or
Mhm.
somebody turns left when a consumer has the right of way, or sorry, a pedestrian has the right of way.
Mhm.
It's maddening. And that's, I think, a very good representation. Not to mention how segmented our city is due to the I-4 industrial complex.
Oh boy.
So this because the city of Orlando is also divided up by these huge, huge walls,
Yep.
and you technically can walk between the different segments. The key word there is technically. You might get mugged, but you can try,
Right.
because it's, why would anybody want to go under there? Not only does it take more than forever, it takes like multiple lifetimes. You'll be a skeleton by the time you get to the other side.
Mhm.
But it's not safe to pass under these massive, like junk mess of highways.
Right. And it's funny that Governor DeSantis loves mocking, California
Yeah,
and San Francisco and LA. And it's very funny that Orlando ranks right there at the bottom with cities like San Francisco and LA in regards to
yeah.
its walkability.
Florida isn't. Florida, I feel the more and more I think about it, the more I feel like Florida is a marketing scheme. It has all the same problems of other states, but they just say, "Oh, but we're different, so we don't." Yeah, we have most of the same problems as they do. Um, we have problems with too many narcotics on our streets. We have problems without being able to get anywhere. We have problems of traffic of doom. Like earlier today, like I was like trying to figure out where Maitland was because I forgot. And I was like, oh, that's right, it's by I-4. I look in I-4, a whole mile of deep red. I'm like, typical I-4 every
That's
freaking day.
right.
Every day I've gone there. Every time I drive over there, my GPS is like confused as all hell. It doesn't even know what road I'm on. Like I'm on a safe driving app. It can't. It kept feeding me the wrong speed limit. It kept feeding the app. My GPS was feeding it the wrong speed limit
They're
because
trying to tell you, get off the road now.
they're like, "Why are you going 25 over?" I'm like, "I'm not going 25 over." But how would it tell when there's like four different highways intersecting at one time all the
Mm-mm.
time?
Mm-mm.
And that's the problem. Like Orlando as a city, like you put a bunch of these massive highways up as almost like a band-aid.
Yeah.
Like, because if you look at the city, they're not built very naturally into the city.
Nope.
Um, they're kind of an eyesore, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
They don't look the same as the rest of the city. They don't fit cleanly into it. And it's super awkward. Like the roads can get very curvy, and that's because they weren't meant to be there. And it was added as this band-aid solution because of the growing of the parks, growing of the tourists, growing of the residents.
Far outgrowing the
Capacity.
response. Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
infrastructure capacity. And to put things in perspective, y'all, now Orlando in 2023 in another study came in at 33 out of 35 cities as far as walkability. So this is nothing new or unwalkability. But to put this in perspective, okay, it would take someone 11 hours, 19 minutes to walk the 31 miles between 5 landmarks here in Orlando that are deemed the most popular: Universal Islands of Adventure, Universal Studios, Disney World's Magic Kingdom, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and Discovery Cove. 11 hours and 19 minutes. To put this again into perspective, a flight from Orlando to Disneyland Paris,
takes less time.
11 hours. Less time. So we can probably have a better experience at Disneyland Paris and get there safely
than to walk between the different parks. That's why we have all those shuttles. And
just saying.
Yeah, and I mean, and not to mention the other landmarks. I mean, how long does it take to get anywhere from Icon Park?
Ugh.
Right? I mean, lots of tourists go there. And now how are you supposed to get anywhere? It's in like Satan's corner.
Right.
It's in like Satan's corner. You ain't getting there.
For a long time, I avoided going to iDrive because it was just chaos. And
iDrive is always chaos.
And because we have to do that for the work that we do, it's a bitter pill you have to take. I try to get there when I hope that traffic is kind of calmed down, and I don't leave until much later than I have to, so I can avoid or try to avoid, which I find that I am unable to avoid the traffic going back home. And I grew up in Chicago representing the South Side, and we've had our traffic, but as far as this here in Orlando, the lack of reliable, efficient, affordable public transportation, the hit or miss, I'm sorry to use that, as far as walkability here in Orlando, it's disappointing. It's very disappointing.
It is. And going back to the fact that our city is divided, there's another big consequence of that. That is that the tourist areas in the downtown has a bisection running straight through it.
Mm-hmm.
What this means is that unless they rented a car and are willing, like they really want to go downtown for some reason, the downtown doesn't, that whole downtown and more eastern area can't enjoy, any tourist expansions. I mean, you can't really move people from one side to the other. It also makes it harder for locals to get to the touristy spots. Because I mean, we're locals, and locals still like going to those spots. They're fun. That's why people travel around the world to come to them. I mean, they should be in our own backyard until you have to get over the I-4 industrial complex. Mm-hmm. Then in which case all hell breaks loose. I know people who travel to Disney every day that work there. Ooh. Oh my God, I can't imagine. Like some nights, some nights, like they just come back 40 minutes late. 40 minutes late.
Unbelievable.
And this is why it ticks me off so much that the only time we really invested in public transport here was that Swan gimmick. The Swan gimmick.
They're back.
Yeah, it's like we could do a million other things, and a million things would be better too. There needs to be some way to get over, like through that bisection, publicly. There needs to be some kind of way to get through that bisection publicly. And going forward, I mean, because we all know, no matter how much we try to stop it, Orlando is going to become overdeveloped.
Oh, without a doubt.
There's no,
it's coming. It's coming.
We've been fighting the fight, but
right. It's
greater powers at play with hundreds of millions of dollars more than we have.
Mm-hmm. The infrastructure is not ready for it.
Nope.
The county government is going to face some huge financial obligations. Sunrail, the infrastructure, $300 billion in infrastructure projects that are going unfunded. But we got to have that high-speed rail to the parks from the airport. Go figure.
I will take that over nothing, but still, even then, I mean, if at least that keeps tourists off the road.
I guess so. Let's
But
see
but
how
again,
many
that's
use it.
it's still not enough. And I feel that without proper planning, which I'm concerned that the government and its workers are not capable of right now. Those new developments that we're going to get are going to try to cram as much as possible, as much low density, because we can't have it either way.
Right.
They're going to try to cram high density just along the sides of roads. They're not going to be built walkable spaces. Like you said, David, this place right here is an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
Everything else is just plopped alongside highways. Like, oh, 4-lane road. Why? We should put a house there, right next to it. And that's where they all go. So that's just the sad reality of it.
It is, and it's just as sad as the current White Sox season right now. But I'm still representing.
God bless you, David.
Yes, indeed, I am still representing the South Side, and Orlando has a long way to go. Orange County still remains one of the most dangerous counties for pedestrians. Things have to improve. We need to improve, and I just don't see how local government is going to get there.
David, what can our viewers do about this?
What you can't do is to continue the conversation with us. Please comment. Let's have that conversation. You're our community, and we want to grow it. There are politicals, there are influencers, there are electeds who are listening, who are commenting, who are appearing on our show, knowing that we have this connection with our community, that we have a dialogue going on. And so we encourage you to comment. Again, we want to hear facts, not your feelings, because we want an honest and respectful, tactful conversation. So comment, like our show, like all of our shows across all of our properties. And please subscribe to not only our JN Washington network, but also our individual channels. So please, and don't forget, share, like, subscribe, hit the notification button so that you know when a new episode drops.
This has been You Can't Make This Shit Up, and we are out.